Hi everyone. Hope you're all keeping well. I forgot to do my normal go and comment and telling you that the sheets are still available and whatnot. I just completely forgot that today, but hopefully you all found me okay. So, hi Pierre. Hope all's good and sunny out there in France. We've got Esther in France as well. French contingent this morning. Brilliant. Hi Karen, good to see you again. Hope you're keeping well. Hope you're getting on well with those Canacapilla songs. Hi Alistair, hope you're doing well over there in Hertfordshire. So we're going to do some chord melody today. I'm quite excited about this. We're going to really get in really get into the nuts and bolts of how to make chord melodies, and we're going to look at a particular way of doing it that I don't think I've done in any of my YouTube videos so far. So this is going to be really, really cool, I think, today. You're going to really enjoy it. Indrani's watching from work. Shh, everyone. Brilliant. Well done, Indrani. Hi, Bev. I hope you're keeping well. Hi, guys. Brilliant. So, of course, if you haven't already, you can download the sheets. They're still available. The link is in the description, and you can go onto my Dropbox. My PayHip, and you can download two different versions. There's an £8 version where you're paying a little bit extra for a tip and to provide the sheets for anyone else as well that needs them. And I wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone that's done that. It really helps people out. But if you're not able to, the £4 sheets are there, exactly the same sheets as well. So all available via PayHip, and thank you to everyone that's supported me so far. I did get an email, but it was a bit last thing this morning from someone that wanted me to send them the sheets. I can't remember who it was, but if you can manage to get by with them on the screen for now, what I'll do is straight afterwards I'll get you a free version sent to you, so you've got it, so you don't have to say who you are. It's totally cool. But I'll send you a free version of all the sheets afterwards, and I'll make them as big as I can on screen. Hopefully you'll be able to follow it in the meantime anyway. So let's have a look. Oh, hi Steve. Good to see you in Seattle. I think I missed someone else there as well. Oh, Angela and Hilke. Cool. Hope you're all doing well. Brilliant. Fantastic. So let's get started then. So when the saints go marching on, we're going to have a look at first. So we're going to look at three different ways of creating chord melody. So the first is, let me just grab my sheet. They always stick together, don't they, when you have sheets of paper. The first way of doing it is to play chords in between the gaps, basically, in a piece of music. So this is the reason why I chose Oh, When the Saints Are Going Marching In, because there are some really big gaps in between the notes. Have a listen. I'll teach it you in a minute, don't worry. Here's a really big gap, and another big gap, and in essence what we can do is we can fill the gaps with chords. Sorry, like this. But that can be a really, really simple and effective way of creating a chord melody. The other way we can do it is we can play chords at the same time as the melody. So let me just find that on my sheet. Where are we? Here it is. So that would sound something like this. Notice you can hear the melody and the chords coming out underneath. That can be a little bit more complex. We have to use something called partial rolls, which I'm going to teach you. The third way, which I don't think I've covered yet in any of my YouTube videos, is to combine both of those skills and do either playing on the beat or off the beat. That means we're going to put a chord strictly on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or we're going to put chords in the gaps between those numbers, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And when you do it, you get a mix. I'll try a little bit of London Bridge for you. When I play on the beat, it's fairly almost always like the second way of doing it. But have a listen to when I play off the beat. Sometimes the chords are at the same time as the melody, and sometimes they're sneaking in an offbeat. And that's because most melodies are syncopated. That just means the notes aren't exactly on the beats. They could be in between on an offbeat. And that creates some really, really exciting chord melody arrangements. So that's going to be the last thing we do. We're going to build up to that. So the first bit's going to be relatively gentle. Let's have a look at those two ways I mentioned at the start of playing a chord melody. And I think before we do anything else, let's just have a go. I'll just check on a few more comments. And then what we'll do is we'll have a go at just playing the melody first. Okay. Hi, Audrey. Hi, Jackie. Hope you're doing good out there. Fantastic. Okay, let's have a look at the melody. Even if you haven't got the sheets in front of you, you'll find this relatively simple. It's a relatively simple melody. What I'm going to do in terms of my playing is I'm going to pick the strings with the thumb of my right hand. So if melody note's on the C string, just like that, melody note on the E string, pick down. If you prefer, you can do Pima style using your fingers, but when we do a chord, I would like you to strum down or use your thumb to come down. That's going to be important because of the sound. So the first bit of London Bridge, we just have this lovely C, E, F, G. That's all it is. Now, don't panic if you can't read sheet music, you can use the tabs to help you. That's off on the C string, and then on the E string we have off, 1, 3. Let's try it all together after 4. Actually, come in after 2, 3, 4, 1. Sounds weird, but you'll see why. 2, 3, 4, 1. Off, 1, 3. Fantastic. The next bit is the same again. 2, 3, 4, 1. Off, 1, 3. Good. And then we have the next section starting from the 4th measure along. Let's make this a bit bigger just in case everyone's following on screen. So this is the first line we're doing here. So at the end of measure 4 we have a little rest, and then we go again in measure 5 with the same thing again. But notice this time we have some extra notes. An E open, C string open, E string open, and then 2nd fret of the C string for D. Okay, let's put that together from the start. Come in with me. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, and then down to the D. Okay, relatively simple melody, isn't it? Let's just have a look at the last bit. So I'm on measure 9 now, 2nd line down of your first sheets, okay? We've got E, E, D, C. That's off on the E string, 2nd fret of the C string, and off on that string, okay? Then in E, G, off 3 on the E string, and then 3, 1 on that string for G, F. Okay, not too bad. Let's try that bit. Let's go from measure, basically the gap in measure 8. 2, 3, 4, 1. Off, 2, off. Open E, G note on the 3rd fret, and then G, F. 3, 1. Okay. Then we finish it off, the end of our phrase, if you like, the end of the piece. We're going to do E, F, G, off 1, 3 on the C string, an open E, a low C, and then a D note 2nd fret for the C string, and then off again. Okay, that gives us our whole melody. Okay, let's play through that once, all the way all together. Now, bear in mind, if you're finding that a bit tricky, you can always come back to it later. The most important thing is you understand what's happening with the chord melody when we do it, because this just takes a bit of practice, doesn't it? So try that one more time. We'll do it all together. Let me bring this over. I know it's cutting off half my face, but that's fine, as long as you can see what's happening here. let's give it a try. And then what I want to do is just kind of have a break, see how everyone's got on with that for a second. And bear in mind, I'd like you to ask loads of questions today. So if you've got any questions at the end of this little section, let me know. And then we'll chord melodyify it. That's a new term I've created, chord melodyifying. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. Same again. 2, 3, 4, 1. Big gaps in between these. Second line we have that too. That should do. Okay, here we go. Hold that for a long time. 3, 1. Good. Last little phrase. We finish with that low C, the start of the third line. Well done, everyone. Let me know how you got on with that. Remember, if you're worried about the timing, you don't have to count along crotchets and quavers and whatnot if you don't want to. Let me just come back so you're not staring at my belly. You don't have to read crotchets and quavers because most people know how this song goes, right? So if you're worried about the timing, just sing it in your head as you play. Oh, when the saints, here's a very big gap, go marching in. Okay, relatively simple melody. And just to reassure you, because we're turning that melody into a chord melody, you'll be doing this loads. So the more you do it, you practice. So don't worry if you haven't got it spot on straight away. Just gonna have a quick gulp of coffee. Okay then. So let's have a look at our first melody way of turning this into a chord melody. For those who think, oh, I want to get on to more exciting stuff, don't worry, it is to come. For those of you that might find this a bit difficult, I'll go nice and slowly as well. So loads to do, don't worry. No worries, David. Good to see you in sunny Flanders. Love it. Okay then. So what we're going to do next is we're going to put chords in. Now, as I kind of hinted in the introduction, this first method of doing chord melody is really simple. We play some melody notes. Then we plug the gaps with whatever chord kind of fits at that particular point in the music. Now, you might think, well, how do I know what chord to play in those gaps? Well, if you think about most sheet music, it will have chords written above the stave, right? You can see it there. So all of the first line, if you were strumming that, you would be playing a C chord, wouldn't you? Because that's what's written. It's as simple as that, right? So that means in these first gaps, we're going to put a C chord. It's that simple. And when I say it's the chord that's kind of in the background, that just means, sorry guys, this doesn't want to sit where it is. There it goes. All that means is if you're strumming, that would be what you're playing at that point. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Notice it's all C at this point. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Finally, you've got that G7. So all we need to do is fill the first few gaps with C chords. That's easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? So let's have a go. What we can do is we can play that little melody at the start. Now notice my third finger here is on this third fret of the E string. To make this really smooth, what I'm doing, in effect, I'm playing a C5 chord. Don't worry about why it's called that. Just know that you're going to put 2 fingers down. And you can strum it like I am, which is down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Or if you want to strum it exactly as it's shown in the music, just 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. The reason I'm doing this chord rather than a normal C chord is because the last melody note is a G. This one here. It just sounds really consistent by keeping it there whilst you do that C chord. You could perfectly valid just do a normal C chord. Just like that, right? But I just like the sound of the other one. It's that simple, nothing more than that. Let's just have a quick look at a couple of questions that have come in. There we go. Angela's asking, is each note the same on the staff? Does it matter where you get that note from on the fretboard, or do you just go for the easiest? Yeah, really, Angela, you're just playing the easiest note, really. So if you're reading the staff, that first bit, C, E, F, G. There are some other places you could play that. You could play, let's see. Actually, you can't play the low C anywhere else unless you've got a low G, because that's the lowest note that we could get. But the E could be played, for instance, here, 4th fret of the C string. So I've just kept it to whatever is easiest, basically. That's the easiest way to think about it, absolutely. The only thing you will have to do if you're following the music on the staff rather than on the tablature, it probably is best to go for the notes on that are shown in the options shown in the tablature for today, just because it puts your fingers in the right place for some of these chords. All right, like that G being played there makes that chord a lot easier than hitting it here and then having to move your hand. Okay, so hopefully that helps a little bit. But yeah, just like they are on the stave otherwise. So let's try that first bit. It's the same thing twice, isn't it, in essence? So I'll give you a 2, 3, 4, 1. I'm going to hit those first 4 notes and strum that double C chord. Okay, here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1. And again. Okay, now the gaps are quite big at this point, aren't they? Here's a very big gap. Here's a very big gap. But we have this section coming up in a minute. And this is going to start on the end of your 3rd line down. So we're looking at the bit where it says filling gaps now, 3rd line down. Now this time there are some smaller gaps, okay? Have a listen. Gap, 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 gap. Here's a very big gap. Now, they might not technically be rests. They might not be showing as rests in the music. Sometimes it's just a crotchet that's played. That doesn't matter. As long as you've got a natural place where you feel you've got enough room to put a chord, you can do it. So this time, if you have a look at that last measure on the 3rd line down, let's make it a bit bigger again. Other way. Okay, over here. This 0, 0, 1. And we're going to go into the bottom line, okay? So now we have our E, C, E, F. Let me just bring my thing up. There we go. And G. But we're going to quickly put a little strum on the down strum as soon as we've done that. We're going to hit the next E melody note. Strum a normal C because it's easier because you've taken your finger off. A low C note. Another E note, and then we'll worry about the next measure in a minute because I'll talk you through that. Hi Karen, no worries, no worries. So notice that I tend to keep my finger down for a C chord as much as possible whilst I do this bit. So when I come to a chord, all I need to do is strum. Have a look. Let's try that again all together after 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, see how we're really filling it up now. If you do that at pace, it starts to sound really cool. We're not going to go that fast yet, but doesn't that sound nice? It shows the potential. Even though this is a really simple way of doing chord melody, it shows how lovely it can sound. Okay. So the reason I stopped at measure 24, if you like, the bottom line before we get to those G7s, is I wanted to show you something here. Here, the chord finally changes. Oh, when the saints go marching in, here's a change of chord. So this time when we do a chord, we're going to put a G7 down. And again, that's just because if you were strumming, that's what you would be doing at that point. Cool, Angela, I've got you. Yeah. So notes, yeah, you can take them off the stave, but you can use the tab to help you find them as well. But yeah, you got it. That's where the notes are. The original melody, if you like. So let's have a look at the next one. Now we've got a D melody note, that 2 on the C string, and then we've got a load of G7s, right? Now this is a really good tip in terms of your technique as you're doing this chord melody. What I like to do is, if I've got a chord coming up, I like to put it down before I hit the melody note, if the melody note is a note in the chord. Because that means rather than doing this, where you've got to then get your hands down quickly, at the start of that measure, bang, G7, pick that 2, and all you've got to do is strum down. Okay, does that make sense so far, guys? Let's try that from the top then. So we're going from measure 17, where it says 2, filling the gaps. All right, actually I'll stay in close because that'll be better, won't it? Let's have a quick go at this one then, all the way from the start. 2, 3, 4, 1. Fill in the gaps. And again. Fill the gaps. Start the second line now. G7. See how that's working? It's like magic, isn't it? And this is what I really want today more than anything. I want to empower you guys. So I want you to be able to take your own, take a piece of music and see if you can create your own chord melody arrangements. For me, that's when ukulele started having like a magical kind of, I really connected with it when I started doing these chord melodies. And I want the same for you guys. Let's carry on then. So that took us to, I've got my actual sheet here. That took us to about here, didn't it? We got to the bottom of this sheet. We've just done those G7s. Okay. Let's see if we can finish off this method then. So let's bring it a bit closer again. Okay. So after that, we have this EEDC 0020 like this. We strum 2 Cs, and then we hit an E, C, G, and there's another illustration. You notice when I hit a G note before that C chord, I do that double C, I'm calling it, that 0033, just for ease because my finger's there and it's easy to hit. Okay, so I'm going from measure 22, 23 to 24, measure 25, but I'm not bothering with that single G7. Just going to hit the melody notes. Let's give it a go. 2, 3, 4, 1. E, E, D, C. Strum twice. And then just a single E. Strum a C. Hit the G. Strum a C. Well done, guys. Then we finally tip onto the next page. And we finally get another new chord now. This is where the F's coming in, the 4 chord in the key of C. Okay, we've got this is measure 28, or the start of the second page. Okay, we're going to have a G F melody. That's 3-1. And the nice thing about that is we've got an F chord following it, because that's what you'd be strumming at that point. I wanna be in that number, like that. Yeah. And the nice thing is, once you play that G, F, your finger's halfway to an F, just complete it with that one. Okay, so that will sound like this. Yeah, let's give it a go. Let's just come in after 4 this time, because it's at the start of the measure. 2, 3, 4. Okay, fantastic. We'll follow it through to the end. We've got E, F, G, 0, 1, 3 on the E string. Strum as double C. Take that finger away, strum an E. Pick an E, strum. Now here we've got G7 chords coming next, but we've got a low C note. So here I just pick the C string and then strum a G7. The next note, the 2, the D is in the G7. Strum. And then finally, we've made it, guys. Hit that low C. And you can hit a quick. Notice that last C is a quick one. We've got a semi-quaver one. It just gives you this kind of feel at the end. But you don't have to do that. You can just strum a single C. It's absolutely fine. Let's have a go. So we're starting from measure 17. That just means we're starting from the third line down on this page where it says, "Oh, where the saints go marching in." Okay, just to make sure we're figuratively and literally on the same page. And we're going to start from that third line down. Ignore the first measure because that kind of belongs to the last bit, doesn't it? So we're starting where it says "to," filling the gaps. Okay, let me just bring this back to that one. Fantastic. Like I say, if anyone didn't get these sheets before, give us a shout and I'll send these to you afterwards so you can print them out as well, so you've got them. Okay. So from number 2, filling in the gaps, let's just give it a go. And then I'll pause for 5 minutes, take some questions and see how you got on with that. And then we'll look at the other way of doing it. Let's give it a go. Come in after 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay. I'll come into close cam, just in case anyone's copying my fingers. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1. Hit those C's. Same again, look. Off, 1, 3. Almost the same. Strum, E note, strum, C note, strum, E note, strum, D note, G7s, E's, strum 2 C's, strum C. Next page, 3, 1, F, F chord. Off, 1, 3, strum, off, strum, C, strum, D, strum, off. Let me know how you got on, guys. I'm going to pause there, bring it back, and I want to know how you got on. Did you manage to follow that? Remember, if you're not following all of it, that's absolutely fine. As long as you get in the process, you can take this sheet music. It's yours forever. You can print it off, keep it, and you can do it at your own pace really slowly. But as long as you understand the concept that we're just playing some melody, filling in the gaps, that's all we want at the moment. So I'll take a glug of coffee and then you can tell me how you do. Oh, that's a bit cold. It's like iced coffee now. I drink a lot of cold coffee being a teacher. It happens all the time. I sometimes make a coffee for students at the start of the lesson as well, and then we forget to drink it until 5 minutes before the end. It's easily done, isn't it? Okay. I'll just hang on to see if there's any questions coming in, because it's using the software I do, there's always a bit of a lag of a minute or so. So it's possible someone's typing away and it's not appeared yet. So I'll just hang on for a minute. What I'll do, as I'm waiting for any questions to come in, I'm going to play you the next version so you can hear it in its entirety. So you don't have to play along. If you're asking question stuff, you can still do that. It just means you've got a bit of background music and you can see how it's going to sound when we put it all together. This is the chords and melody at the same time. So end of the first line of the second page. Notice it has a different feel. So very different, isn't it? The first one has a lot more energy because we're filling in those gaps. But this one, because we're leaving the gaps be, it has a lot more room to breathe. And this is the kind of thing you need to consider when you're making your own chord melody. Do you want to have that kind of that gentle feel of your chord melody where you allow the chords to breathe? That works brilliantly on ballads and slower pieces. Or do you want that more kind of that slight groove that you get from the first way of doing it where you're filling in the gaps? And only you can decide that. You've got to see what works for you. So oh cool, no questions, but some lovely comments coming in. Thanks guys, that's great. That's what I like to hear. Brilliant. Obviously, if there's anything you don't understand at any point, guys, just shout. And even if I'm busy teaching you something and I don't notice it, I'm sure Esther or one of my other helpers will help you out. Okay, then let's have a look at how to do this this third way, the second way of doing it, but I've put number 3 because the first was just a melody. So where it says number 3 on your second sheet's chords with melody. Now this version, in some ways it's easier to play because there's less going on, but in other ways it's more difficult because the complexity of what we're doing is just that little bit trickier to understand. So what we're doing in effect is I've been quite arbitrary where I put the chords. I think I've mostly done them on the either the first and third beats of every measure or just the third. So so yeah, so that's fairly arbitrary. Hi Lisa. In a bit we're going to put them in a specific place. But notice what we do is we play a melody note. When we play the chord, we hold whatever chord would be played at that moment, like a C chord down. We roll our thumb over all the strings and we stop wherever we've hit the melody note. How do you know which one the melody note is? Well, if you refer to your original piece, you could see that that melody note here is an E because it's that open E. You could use the sheet music to help you. But the other thing is, you can see from the tabs that we have 0, 0, 0, which means not to play that A string, right? So you can kind of see that we have to stop there. And there's a bit of method in this. As I strum down on that second part, like that, notice 2 things. First of all, my fingers roll over relatively speedily. But the other thing is my thumb actually stops on this A string. It stops me accidentally playing it. And because we dig in, the note that we hear louder than any others is that E note. And that's what we want because that's what carries the melody. Then we go to this F note, that one, and then we play 0, 0, 3. The reason we do 0, 0, 0, the reason we do 0, 0, 3, it might not look like a C chord, but the chord at that moment was still C. Oh, when the saints. But the melody note was a G. Now, there is a G on our ukulele here, isn't there? High G on most ukes. Could be low G if you've got it. The reason I like to play the G here and strum to it is because it allows you to pass over 2 other strings on the way and get the sound of a chord. So it's a C chord with a G added, but we don't need to come as far as this string. So if you're feeling relatively confident in yourself, you can take that one away and just play 0, 0, 3. Sometimes I keep it there as an insurance policy, because if you accidentally strum too far, that sounds all right, whereas this sounds horrible. Okay? So that makes the first, I'm going to call it parts, the first 4 parts of this way of doing it will sound like this. Notice we've still got the sound of those chords, but you can quite clearly hear that melody coming through, right? Measures 35, that's the second string, second one down, it's exactly the same thing. Then again, well, the next couple of measures we have that starts doing the same thing. And then we have 0, 0, 0. And the reason is we're strumming to an E note. Then we have 0, 0 because we're strumming to a low C note. Then another 0, 0, 0. And then finally we have 0, 2. It might not look like much of a G7 chord, but it comes from this G7 chord because the melody note is this one, this D. We're only going to strum the top 2. Otherwise, we wouldn't hear that D coming through. We'd hear maybe this one. And when I do that one, I like to keep my fingers on a G7 chord. I'd rather not do it like this. Because again, if I accidentally strum too far, sounds awful, whereas if I strum too far like this, still sounds kind of okay. And also, quite often, the next note might be in this chord anyway. Okay. Let's try that from the start of this method then. So we're going from the last measure of the first line of the second page, okay, where it says 3 chords with melody. And I realise that I'm not on the right screen for people following online. Let's make that a bit bigger. Okay, so the last measure of that top line. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. Rest it there. Rest it. Rest it. And then top 2 of G7. Okay, I'll just pause there for a minute and see how everyone got on with that. Just make sure you're all still following, because it's really, really important. And again, I'll keep saying this again and again today. You'll probably get fed up of me saying it, but remember, as long as you're getting the process, that's the important thing. And the process is we're doing a chord and stopping wherever we hear that melody. I'll play through. You can join in once more if you want to test yourself. I'm going to play through what we just did again. But more than anything, just listen out and see if you can hear the melody. Da, 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 da. Coming through with the sound of some chords. I'll give a count in just in case anyone is playing along. 2, 3, 4, 1. You see how it's like magic? You're getting the sound of some chords coming through, but you can quite clearly hear that melody as well. And if you want it to sound nice and crisp like mine, just remember whenever you've strummed the strings that are shown in the tab, stop your thumb on the next one down. That will give you a really nice kind of digging in sound, but it will also stop you strumming too far, basically. Okay, I'm just going to pause for a minute, see if there's any questions coming along, and then we shall get going. There we go. Just having a little quick read through some of your comments. It's amazing. I've missed half the conversation. It's like, why are they talking about waffles, tea and banana? But it sounds good. Hope it doesn't snow too bad for you, Karen. Although it'd be fun. I guess you could build a snowman, couldn't you? Fantastic. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to get snow this year. Here, where I live in Longhope, it's because it's in a deep valley. Longhope literally means long valley, and we can have it. Well, there's hardly any snow anywhere else through the rest of the Forest of Dean, but our little valley, if there is even a tiny bit of snow, it kind of fills up. So it's quite exciting. Well, it's exciting for the first 2 days, isn't it? And then you have to get your shovel out and you put gravel down and hope that you can get to work. Then it's not so much fun. But I do enjoy building the snowman with the kids. Okay, let's have a look at the next bit then. So that took us down, just in case you're following it, in terms of literally measure by measure, that took us to the end of the second line of the second page. That G7 there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do these two here. We're just going to finish off that process to the end of Oh When the Saints Go Marching In. Then I'm going to show you the third way of doing things, which is where things get super exciting. All right, and we're going to look at another piece of music. By the way, I know this is kind of basic in terms of the music, Oh When the Saints Go Marching In. But the reason I do that is because everyone knows the melody. So everyone knows how his tune goes. So you can kind of sound if you can kind of hear if you're doing it right or wrong. But because it's simple, you can understand the process, and that's what I want. You know, it's no good doing Shostakovich or something where we're all like terribly struggling even to find the notes. So if it seems a little basic, it's the principles that you want, and this is the way I learned it, and it seemed to work. Let's have a look at those last ones then. Measure 41, we have something quite weird or unusual happening, I guess, in some ways. I'm going to come in close so you can see my fingers. Now we have an E note, that open 0. Then we have a G7 chord, but can you see how on the tabs it says 020? Now that's a really unusual thing. It's because we want some of the sound, at least two of the strings we want as much, at least, of a G7 chord. But the melody note is an E, and there is no melody note in a G. There is no E note in a G7. So what we're doing in effect is lifting this finger off, so we get the sound of the rest of a G7. But because the last thing our thumb does is touch this string, we get the sound of an E coming through. And this kind of ties into, I think it might have been Karen was asking earlier about other places you can play these notes. Might have been somebody else, apologies. You can also play an E here. So you could go, for this measure, you could go. But it's quite stretched and it's awkward. So the easiest thing I think is lift that one up and you get 3 strings there. So that measure, okay, we got open E. Put your finger on the 2nd fret. You don't have to do this one. D note at the end. And then the next one is a C chord, but the melody note is a low C. Okay. I want to be. So we're just strumming the top 2. We stay on a C chord. You don't have to hold this down if you don't want to. And this time the melody note is an E, so we strum the top 3. In the melody note next is a G, that, so we put it down and strum to it, that. Let's go for those first 3 measures of the 3rd line down then. 2, 3, 4, 1. There we go. Then we go to the F chord. The finally comes in that F chord. Now the melody note is still a G at this point. I want to be in that number. Okay, so we know we need this G to ring out next time, but we need the sound of an F chord over the top. And that's exactly what we do. We hold our finger down on the G note, but we put an F chord over the top and we strum as far as this G note. And you might think, well, what's the point in this finger? Because it's on the same string as this finger and it cancels it out. The reason I put both fingers down is that the next note is an F, which is this one here. So we can just go number. Yeah. Let's have a look at the bottom line. We have what looks like an A minor. But the reason that it's called an F is because if you're strumming at that point, oh, when the, you would still be on an F chord. The melody note is an E, so that's why we're having to lift off this finger and put it back down. Okay. That gives you when the C to a G, 0, 0, 3, Saints, C to an E, 0, 0, 0, Go, C to a low C, 0, 0, March, top 2 of a G7, Ing, and off, in. And the reason those last three measures are just 2 notes is because the melody note is on the 2nd string down from your nose, so you have to stop after it. That's the way this way works. James Hill in his teaching calls these partial rolls, where we're rolling over our thumb over the strings and we're stopping after we've hit the melody note. I use a lot of James Hill's terms. In fact, actually, to be fair to James, he took a lot of things from I always forget how to say it, so I think it's Chalmers Doane, who was he was the principal leader of the Canadian ukulele movement. There was a Canadian ukulele movement in the 70s, 80s, 90s, where ukulele was the main instrument that's taught during schools. And this guy called Chalmers Doane came up with these Chalmers Doane, came up with these great methods of teaching it. And then James Hill took that mantle and ran with it brilliantly. So I think James is one of the best teachers on the planet. And so a lot of the kind of principles that I use come from that, because I've not seen it bettered anywhere else, basically. That's what we're doing. Okay, should we try the whole of that method then? The whole of method number 3. Oh, I just realised I've missed loads of comments. Sorry, guys. Let's just see what we've got here. So Absolutely, Steve. Music making is magic, isn't it? There's that funny Facebook meme, isn't there? It's been going around recently where people say if you're finding learning ukulele difficult, just remember you're making an inanimate object sing. And it's true. We're making these things sing. It's just brilliant, really. So, yeah, great. Nancy had a question. Feel like plucking the G702 instead of strumming down legal? Yeah, that's fine, Nancy, yeah. So Nancy's saying rather than that 02 at some points, she feels like picking it like that. That's absolutely fine. All you want to do is just make sure that that D note is slightly louder than the G note, because that's the melody note we want to come through. So that's absolutely fine. So yeah, great. Thanks, Esther. You read my mind. That's it. Yeah. Thanks, Audrey. Yeah, great idea. Great idea. Yeah, they have a slightly different tone when you use picking. Just out of interest, let me try playing this kind of finger picked rather than using my thumb. It would sound like this. Sorry. I was thinking about telling you something and I forgot that I was meant to be playing something. I forgot how to do it. But there you go. It has a slightly different feel. It's a bit more harpsichordy, isn't it? Whereas the thumb, I guess, is a little bit more mellow. There's no right or wrong. The only thing is, if you are finger picking, if you've got 3 strings being played at the same time and only one of them is the melody note, the reason it sounds so great when you thumb pick it is because the melody note is physically the last thing you hear. So if I play 0, 0, 0, the last note that sticks in your ear is the E, isn't it? The third one down. Whereas if I finger pick them, you could accidentally finger pick the C too loud, and then it'd be that note that sticks in your ear. So you've got to be conscious of picking that little bit harder on whichever string the melody note is on if you do finger style way of playing rather than thumb. So yeah, that's why I always teach thumb first. But you can do it. You could even kind of roll those. Do like these little rolls when you do the finger style. But that's for another day. I'm going to pause for a second, just once more to kind of see if there's any questions coming in. Just in case there are any really important ones and people are typing away. While we're waiting, again, I'll play through that one last time and you can join in with me if you like. We'll play the whole of it together. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4. And 4, 1. And there you go. Yay! Well done, guys. Just gonna check a couple of comments come in. So that's right, Karen, you're allowed to be distracted. Squirrel. No, just joking. When I play 2 notes in a sequence on the same string, sometimes I cut off the second note. Ah, good question. Good question, Karen. So if you ever have 3 notes on the same string, say on the E string we have off 1, 3, E, F, G. Sometimes when people play them, I think like Karen's hinting at, you can kind of get more of this sound. Where it's not kind of, they're not ringing out true. And there's a couple of things that can make that happen. The first thing is, don't move this fretting finger until just before you have to play the note. That will allow the last note to ring out. If you put it down before, it it kills that note, doesn't it? So let it ring out. But also you have to do the same thing with your thumb, because if I touch the string with my thumb afterwards, it kills it again, doesn't it? As opposed to, so it's, notice my thumb is just coming down just before I play the note. That way you get the lovely tail of the note. And then the other thing which is really important is with your fretting hand, when you play a note, it's the same for chord melody as well when you're strumming down. Try and get that finger as close to the metal fret as possible. So not over here, want it over this side. It'll give you a cleaner note. And this one, notice my finger's going way over here, not here. It's going right to this side of the fret. It means that the string makes contact with that metal fret easier and sooner. Whereas if I play back here, sometimes you'll get that buzzing, or here. So make sure, and that way you don't have to press so hard as well. That can be really useful. Even in chords, try the same thing when you do a G chord. These ones tend to sit in the middle because there's two of them, but notice this one when I play a G. It's not back here, it's over here. And that'll keep your chords as clean as possible. Aha! Problem solved. Elementary, my dear Watson. Okay, so that's our two main ways of playing chord melody. We can fill in the gaps. Oh, when the saints strum me, strum me, strum, strum. Or we can put chords on at the same time as the melody note. Now, the third way, if you like, is to mix up the two. And the way we can do that is by making a decision where to put the chords when we're doing this chord melody and keeping it in the same place every time. And it gives a different feel. Okay. Now, there's a slight, I'm going to say typo, but it was just me being daft when I made these. Just to clear it up before we start. When you look at London Bridge, which we're going to look at next, can you see on the second and third line, we've got beats 1 and 3 and beats 2 and 4. If you've got a pen, scribble them out, because it's not really beats 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. I was being a bit daft. It's actually on beats and off beats. You'll see what that means in a minute, don't sweat. But 2 is on beats, 3 is off beats. If anyone's nerdy, it's because originally I did this in 2/4 and changed it to 4/4, and it messed up everything, sort of thing. So it's all right. You just got to remember it's on beats and off beats, not 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. I'll show you what I mean in a sec anyway. Oh, thanks, Audrey. Yeah, my this one's got quite a nice warm tone. This one I was using for Canacapilla the other day. I've got a concert tonight. It's my first in a long time, and whenever I'm doing concerts, I try and make sure when I'm teaching or practicing in the day, I use the same ukulele or ukuleles that I use for the concert. I'm taking 2 of my hives tonight, so that's why I'm using this one. It's got a lovely warm tone, and you can achieve some of that on any uke, making sure you're strumming in the sweet spot where the body meets the neck, and also using the middle part of your thumb as you come down, not the side, the middle part, and that will warm it up as well. So yeah, cool. Okay, so there's a bit of discussion about the tinny sound. I will just show you a quick demo of that, because Audrey was talking about the tone. When you come down on your strums, whether it be for a melody note or a strum, let's see, I'm just going to move this out of the way for a sec. What I want you to do is I want you to use the middle part of your thumb to strum down. Now, if I try and get a different angle, this might work. Yep, that'll work. Can you see how it's the middle part of my thumb? It's not like this. Can you hear the difference? Massive difference, isn't it? Versus side, middle. And this works even if you haven't got a nail. I broke this nail last month and it's only just growing back. So I've been doing this without a nail for a long time and it still works. The other thing notice is that my thumb is straight. It's not bent like this. If I bend it, it sounds a bit too aggressive. But if I straighten it out and drag it over, we have that nice warm tone. So centre of the thumb, not the side. and keep your thumb bent back, not like that. Okay, that'll really, really help your tone. That helps with everything. There's a whole workshop. If you go to my website, mattsteadukulele.com, there's a link there which says live lessons, and you can watch these older versions of these live lessons back. And there's one all about creating tone and creating nice warm tones. So check that out if you get a chance. I even talk about filing nails and things like that. Always have one of these handy to make sure my nails are nice and buffed. Helps as well. Okay, let's have a look at this London Bridge then. So what I'll do, just like for the last one, I'll teach you just the simple melody first. This one's only really short. It's only, I think, 4 measures long, so it won't take long to learn the melody. It's really simple. And then we'll look at the 2 different ways of doing it. So here we go. In fact, just before we do that, let me play the 2 different versions so you can hear. So this is what this sounds like when I hit the on beats. This is what it sounds like when I hit the off beats with chords. Do you notice it's kind of a lot more complex, isn't it, when I play the offbeats? And that's because melodies tend to stick around the on-beats, but occasionally they syncopate. So when you hit offbeat strumming, you hit more gaps in between the melody, so you have more strums in the gaps, like the first way we did it. Whereas on the beat it tends to be like the second way we did it, whereas on the beat tends to be like the first way. You'll see, you'll see. Let's have a go then. So let's learn the melody first. This is just your top line. Make it a bit bigger if I can. Come on, sheet. I've worked out what it is. You know, my sheets are always getting bigger and smaller by accident. It's because my mouse has it's an Apple mouse, and if you accidentally touch the top of the mouse, it makes things expand or contract, and I do that all the time by accident. So it's like my sheets are going like this. I'm sorry if it gives anyone a headache, but I'm going to leave it alone now. Hopefully it's there. Okay, this one, the melody is slightly syncopated, so it's kind of slightly harder to get. Let me just play it for you first. Notice that the first note of all those measures is held slightly longer than all the rest. The way I like to count it is 1, sorry, let me do that again. 1, 2 and 3, sorry, that's really hard. 1 and 2 and 3. No, I can't count it like that and play it at the same time. I'm so sorry. That's terrible, isn't it? 1 and 2. Okay, you got that little gap at the start. Sometimes there's just certain syncopations that my brain can't say the numbers and play at the same time. But let me do it slowly and you'll get the idea. Okay, so that dotted note at the start, it's a dotted crotchet. That means it's 1.5 beats. That's what I'm trying to say, basically. Whereas all the others are... No, sorry, it's a dotted quaver. So it's 1.5 quavers. Whereas all the others are quavers until the last one, so they're a little bit quicker. So in effect, this first note lasts twice as quick as the ones that follow it, until you get to the very last note, which you can just let hang. Okay, so let's just have a look at it. You can use the tab or you can use the notation, whatever you find most comfortable for this one. Now just go for it in slow motion. So we got 3, that's G, let it hang, A, open, G, F, 3, 1, off 1 for E, F, and then we rest back on that G. Let's do that together. 2, 3, 4. And And the next bit is very similar on the E string, but we're going to start from this low D note, 2nd fret for the C string, E, F, 0, 1, and an E, F, G. Not too bad, right? Next measure is exactly the same as the first one. Okay. Then we finish My Fair Lady, low D note 2, 3 here for the G, and an open E, an open C. Let's put that together, all together. 2, 3, 4. Rest, rest, rest. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Okay, let me know how you got on with that, guys. Really nice, simple melody, isn't it? Right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to put chords on the on beat. What we mean by the on beat is the strong beat, or if you count into 4, the numbers, right? So imagine rather than counting 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're going to put the chords on the numbers. Sorry. So they're going to be on the numbers every single time. What makes this tricky is the syncopation. Because that first chord is held a little bit longer, or the first note as well is held a little bit longer than the rest, the one I found really hard to count for this reason, we have to let that ring out as we hit the next note. So when we strum this first one, we're going to do C to a G, just like we did in the last exercise, just like this, right? 0, 0, 3, because the melody note is that one, right? So we need to stop it. Then we're going to hit this open A. You can keep that finger where it is, okay? So you've got... Now, because of the syncopation, let this last a little bit longer. Touch the A, back to it. Then we play C to E, 0, 0, hit the F, and then we strum down again. So I'm putting the chords on 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and okay, see that? Let's try that one more time. And 4, and now that can give it quite a cool sound, but also some people refer to this as kind of a bit plodding, a bit pedestrian. If I kind of really exaggerate the chords. Whoops, help if I do it right. It's like bum, bum, bum. It's got a strong sound, but quite pedestrian, right? But it kind of suits this, actually, I think. So it works fine. Let's have a look at the next measure. Now, this is a little bit more tricky because it's got a G7 and a C in it. All right. Now, because we're strumming and stopping where the melody note is, remember to stop your thumb when you hit the melody note. So the start of the next measure, okay, where we get to G7, is 0, 2, isn't it? Now, what I want you to do is hold down a G7 chord rather than just 0, 2. Okay. Partly because your fingers are in the right place for what comes next. It also means you're not going to accidentally ruin it if you strum too far. It's quite important when you've got a lot going on to try and keep this chord down. So we hit 0, 2. We lift off this finger, gives us the open E. Put it back down and strum as far as it. Okay, let me do that again. So top 2 of a G7. Lift this and hit the E. Put it back down and strum to it. If you find it really tricky to remember to lift the right finger, you can lift off the whole chord temporarily. Okay. It's better if you can just lift the one finger because it smooths it out. Then we're on a C chord next, but the melody note is an E here. So we strum to it, hit the F note, and then strum to the G that we had. Okay. So that measure will sound like this. Okay. That's nice and easy, that one. Not easy, but easier, because unlike the first measure, there's no syncopation. Syncopation just means when chords or notes are played away from the beat. These ones are very much on the beat, aren't they? Straightforward. Let's put those first two measures together. I'll play it once and you copy it back. Then our G7, lift for E, off. Let's try it together. 2, 3, 4. Okay, everyone got that? Trickier, isn't it? It's a lot more to think about. Notice it gives that sense of almost like a droning. You can almost imagine bagpipes going in the background. It's got that drone. If I look like I'm doing mad headbutts, that's just to highlight the drone. No matter what happens, every beat, there's a chord. So it's like we've constantly got this feel going in the background, and it's on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and okay. And that's why I've scribbled out beats 1 and 3. It's not beats 1 and 3. It's every on beat, isn't it? Every number. Let's have a look at the third measure over. Okay. This time we're starting with a C to a G. Let me come in close, like this, and that's because it's a C chord, but the melody note is a G. So we need to put our finger down for it, and we only strum as far as that. What I tend to do is I tend to just leave that one where it is. As I hit this open A note, strum to it again. F note, that one, off, back on. Okay, it's the same as that first measure again, isn't it? Then finally, this time rather than a G7, we've got a G chord, and this one's quite nice because you can keep this G chord down for the first two parts, strum the top 2 strings, top 3 strings, and then fingers off. That's just top 3 open and a low C. Notice there's a chord at the end. The reason we've got to put that chord at the end is we're strumming every beat, aren't we? And that's one of the beats. Look. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it feels like it needs filling because we're always strumming on the numbers. Let's try the second 2 measures of that then. 2, 3, 4. G chord, top 2, top 3, and off. Strum a C to celebrate. Yay! You made it to the end. Okay, let's try the whole of that one together then. The whole of this process. So it says measure 5, that's because it's the second one on the page, but it's where it says beats 1 and 3, we're going to try the whole thing. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. I know it's like and 4 and if anyone's into their sheet music, but I'm going to keep it simple. 2, 3, 4. G7 shape. C. Keep your finger there. G shape, top 2, top 3, off, and a C at the end to celebrate you made it. Absolutely brilliant. I'm going to pause for a minute again just to check how you got on with that, just to see if anyone managed to do it. If anyone didn't, but they're understanding the principle, that's absolutely fine as well. The important thing for here is that we're strumming on every measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... What we're going to do next is we're going to strum on the ands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So it's going to give it a different feel. We're going to strum on the offbeats, basically. That's going to create a lot more drama and a lot more to think about, okay? We'll give it a go in just a sec. I'm just going to pause for a second, just see how everyone's getting on, see if there's any more comments coming in. Let me know if you managed to do that one. Give us a thumbs up or any questions at all. I'm always here to help as well. So, yeah, fantastic. It was interesting, all that talk about the angles earlier, wasn't it? Things like Karen and Esther were talking about, and Audrey. It is those little tiny details that make a big difference. I've been threatening to write a tuition book for years. You know, I've done a music theory book, well, a ukulele reference book, which has like everything you need to know, all your scales and things like that. If you're interested, it's called the Ukulele Reference Book, and it's available on my website. But I've talked for ages about doing a tutorial book, and if I ever get round to doing it, I'm going to call it It's All About 45, or It's All About the Angles, because everything wants to be 45 degree in our uke, it feels like. We've got a 45 degree angle here. We want our thumb to be dragged down at 45 degrees against the string, not like that, but like straight down. And then we've got the angle of the thumb as well, and this arm's at 45. There's so many 45s in playing ukulele, so or angles for sure as well. This one's really important. If you try playing your uke like this, it puts your fingers in a really unnatural position, makes it really hard to do bar chords. But as soon as you lift it like this, it's the same. Even if I'm playing a little ditty soprano, I still sit it on my lap and I still have it as a 45 degree angle. You'd notice that I rarely play with a strap nowadays, and that's for the same reason, because my, if I come back, try not to crush my ukes behind me, see how, because it's sitting in my lap, it's fairly steady. It's not dropping off here or going anywhere. It's just on the inside of the thigh. If I come up here, it's awkward because it sits this way. If I come down here, it's putting everything at the wrong angles again, which is really uncomfortable. But here, it just sits there. And this part of the arm is basically only stopping it falling that way. Can't fall backwards because my belly's in the way. Can't go this way because my leg's stopping it, isn't it? So the only thing I'm really needing to do with this hand is just to stop it falling forward. And that means this hand is fairly free to do what it wants without a strap. If you find your strap helps you though, that is totally fine. And I think if you're a beginner or even intermediate and you find it helps you free up your hand, there's no problem, is it? These things are here to help us. So that's totally cool. But yeah, just as a bit of an aside, I think it's quite interesting. I like David's. Let's just say I struck all the right notes, but not necessarily in the right order. That's all right. You've got the rest of your life to stick them in the right order, David. Very, very Eric Morecambe. I love it. Absolutely cool. Buzz on the C string. Jackie, is it when you're playing notes or when you hit it open? Does it buzz then? Let me know. If it does, it could be down to your uke, and we can look at things like that. Yeah. So yeah, Esther, yeah, you're dead right. So this is a bit advanced, this next bit, so you don't have to do this. But when I do the next version, if a chord is in between, if a chord doesn't have a melody note on it, I tend to strum it with my nails. But if a chord does have a melody note on it, I use my thumb. That might be too much for today, Esther, but well spotted. That's a good thing to do. So, yeah, absolutely brilliant. Cool. Right, let's have a look then. So this is our final piece. Then we're going to look at putting the chords to this on the offbeat now. This makes it a lot trickier because sometimes they're going to be on a melody note. Sometimes they're not, and you can see that right from the first measure. I'm going to bring this over. Let's see, where can I put it where you can see it big? Bear with me a second, guys. Let's see, not there. Oh, it's all happening now. I've got things that I don't want to be here. Go away, you. There we go. Okay, right. Let's see. I'll get it back to page 5. Sorry, guys. It's technology playing up again. It's great when it works. As I say, I've got a gig earlier and I'm doing a workshop before, and I had to print out about 100 sheets of music, and you wouldn't believe how hard my technology made it. It should be easy, but I was swearing at my PC earlier. There we go. Right, okay. So this time we're going to put chords on beats. Not beats 2 and 4, we're going to put them on the off beats, okay? Jackie, if your C string is buzzing open, your ukulele probably could do with a bit of setup work. It could be that the string was too low, or it could be sometimes even if your uke has always been fine and then it starts buzzing, it can be because the wood in the uke's moved. So particularly this time of year when people start switching the heating on, humidity drops in your home, and that makes the wood of your ukulele shrink slightly as it becomes less humid, and that can make the neck move. So it could be that's what's happened. So if you've got a uke shop near you, you could take it in to ask you to help. You could ask them to help you out. Normally it means this string needs raising a bit, so what you would tend to do is put a little shim underneath this saddle. This saddle will come out, put a little wooden shim, or sometimes they even just cut a little bit off an old credit card. I used to use library cards when I was the library manager, don't tell anyone. And you can just put it underneath this, and it will just raise it enough so that it's not buzzing. So that's what it is. It's just because your string's a bit too low, it's hitting the frets. But yeah, we can do stuff about that to help you. Okay, so let's have a look then. So this time we're going to put beats on the offbeat. We're going to put chords on the offbeat. Sorry, my brain was getting in a noodle. So that means that sometimes these chords are going to be where we wouldn't have a melody note, because if we imagine we're hitting 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4, now we're going 1 and, that means there's a chord on the offbeat straight away in the first measure. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit that G note, and then we're going to strum straight away 1 and, like that. Okay, and this is the one Esther. This is where I use my nails, because it's not a melody note, this strum. I'm filling in the gaps basically. Okay, 1 and, okay. Then we're going to hit the open A, then the G note, then we're going to strum to the F note. Okay, because that one's a melody note, we're going to strum using our thumb and make sure we stop on that third line down. Let me come in close, because this one's quite tricky. Okay, let me come in close. It will sound something like this. Like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Finally managed to count it right. It's tricky though to count that in time, okay? So again, hold your finger on that G note, pick it, and then strum it straight away. Okay? The rest of it is nice and kind of straightforward because it's not syncopated. Notice the difference in feel. I'm going to do the first version one more time, just the first measure. Now this one. There you go. Do you see how it kind of gives it a little bit more, a little bit more feeling, like there's more going on. It's a little bit more exciting, but it's trickier because we're having to do both playing chords and melody at the same time and filling in the gaps. That almost always happens when you play offbeat. It's tricky, but sounds great. The next bit's not too bad. We're going to do a similar technique to what we've done all along, but just notice we're strumming every other note, which is the offbeat, right? So we're going to hold a G7 chord. We're going to hit that 2 of the D note. We're going to lift off this one to get that E coming through. Pick that note and strum again. So that will sound like this. Notice again the chords are on the offbeat. 1 and 2 and no chord, no. whereas in the first version they were on the numbers. Chord, note, chord. Okay, so different feel. One more time. And then the second half of that measure, take your fingers away, hit the open E, C to an F, G to an F. Okay, so that makes that second measure. That one's not too bad, is it? Next one is the same as the first measure again. What makes it tricky again is that we've got that note that's not on an on beat. Here it is. But doesn't that sound great? I love this way of doing it. Okay, so again, this is the third measure, slow motion. Hit that G note, strum to it, immediately hit this A. So sorry, I got a buzz then. That's because I didn't lift my finger enough. I was a naughty one there. Down to that F, open E to the F, G to the G. Lovely, right? And then finally, G chord, we're going to hit just this note here, the D note, second fret of the C string. Notice I'm holding a G chord. Makes me prepared for what comes next. That whole start of that measure, all from a G chord. And then we're going to hit an open E. And because we're doing that offbeat, we need one more at the end. So that last measure, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right at the end. Tricky, isn't it? But it's lovely. It's lovely. That's really interesting, Angela. Sorry, just going back to that earlier conversation about straps. Yeah, it's really funny. It sounds like I'm bragging, but when I went to Hawaii, I was so lucky. I got to go to Hawaii this year in April, and I met up with Sarah and Craig. Some of you might have seen the workshop I did with them, and we had this conversation, just not as part of the workshop, just ourselves. And they said exactly the same thing, actually. They found that when they played without a strap, it freed up their playing and they were better at playing. Whereas the strap, they kind of relied on it a little bit too much for certain things. So it's kind of positives and negatives. But of course, it's really awkward for Sarah, isn't it? Because the other part of her business is she makes ukulele straps. So it's a little bit two ways. But I kind of think of it as like... you know, when you learn to ride your bike when you're a kid, you start off with stabilizer wheels and then you take them off. See the strap like that? If you're using it and it feels comfortable, that's fine. It's not a big deal, and it's a really good way to start. If you're feeling brave enough, then lose the stabilizers, lose the strap, and you can do without it. I find it a lot more freeing because I don't have to muck about with doing all that when I teach and stuff. I literally grab a uke and I'm ready to go, which can be helpful. The one place I do use a strap all the time pretty much is standing up. Even if I do all the right things when I'm standing up, I'm still having to concentrate on it not dropping down. Okay, so I do use a strap when I stand up as well. But yeah, just kind of interesting, isn't it? Okay. Richard, I think I just asked you a question. So why did I buy one from them? Well, they, just like I say, they're thinking of them as stabilizers. They still use them because they really help people when they're starting out, but eventually you can drop it. Or, you know, I'm kind of relaxed about these things. It's like the whole, should I use a pick, what kind of tuner, what strings, all that stuff. If it sounds good and it feels good, it is good. As long as it's not ruining your technique, and it's not going to. I wouldn't worry about it too much, honestly. Don't sweat it. What's it they say? Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. Okay, let's try it. Let's give this last one a go. I'll play it once so you can hear it, and then we'll do it all together. And then I'll just hang around another quarter of an hour or so at the end to take any questions at all. So this is your offbeat pattern. So it says beats 2 and 4, but you know what I mean, don't you? Last line. 2 and 3 and 4 and... let's do that one more time with everyone joining in. Esther's question from earlier, the chords that are on the off, the chords that don't feature a melody note tend to be the one on the and following the one. So if you want to do a down strum with your nails, it sounds like this. These are all melody ones. Here comes one. And there's one there, isn't there? But don't sweat that, just play it normally and be absolutely fine. One last go, we'll do it all together. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Whoops, sorry. Hope that didn't put anyone off. Okay, and relax. Cool, huh? So let's just recap then. So this is what I want you to take away from this workshop. First of all, there's two ways of playing chord melody. There's filling in the gaps. Fill in the gaps. Or there's playing chords at the same time. And then finally, you can play a third way, which is making a decision to put chords on the on beat or on the off beat. And that gives you a mix of those two. So once you know how to do them, you can try the last one where you're combining them both. And again, like I say, it's really super important. If you're finding this difficult, take a deep breath, take your time, come back to this lesson as many times as you want. It's there forever now, totally free, okay? And all of my old ones, remember, listed on the website as well down here. Just take your time with it, get those two principles, and then what would be really cool if you're feeling brave enough would be to find a melody with chords and do it yourself. I'm a big fan. I have no association with them, so this is completely objective. I'm a big fan of the Beloff's 365 daily ukulele books. I think they're called, 365 Songs for Better Living is the subtitle, and it's daily ukulele. The reason I love those books, they're originally compiled by Jim Beloff and his wife, whose name I forget naughtily. The reason those books are so good is that every song has both the melody written out and the chords. So you could take that melody and you could put the chords together and you could do it. Even if you don't, even if you can't read sight music, you could work out the melody by ear, or you could try and find a tab version of a song and then put it together yourself. And try and empower yourself. Once you can start to do this stuff, it's really amazing. As I say, that's when I started to really enjoy my ukulele. The reason I'm looking behind me was someone was just saying how nice Sarah's straps were, and I thought somewhere I had one of hers handy, because she made a Christmas one which I had on my ukulele for a while, and I love Sarah's straps. They're really beautiful. I think she used to work in textiles, or she did it at university, I think, Sarah. So she makes beautiful straps. I used to have one with foxes running down it, which is like really lovely. Oh, cool! Steve, the first uke strap he had was from Sarah, so she won it during their COVID seminar. Oh, cool, Steve, that's really neat. They're great, aren't they? They really are. Where did I put that strap? Hang on, excuse me. I think it's down here somewhere. Oh, I don't know, it's disappeared. Oh well, it'll turn up. It'll turn up. I was just going to show you, but yeah, brilliant, lovely, beautiful straps. Would I ever use upstrums? That's a great question, Karen. On the third way, you could do. That's a very Kimo Hussey thing to do. There's a ukulele player called Kimo Hussey in Hawaii. He does a lot of this, where he kind of comes down with his thumb and up with his finger. So Sorry. You play it like that. The only trouble is with the up strum, it makes it slightly awkward in terms of when you've got to hit that melody note and have it really clearly coming through. But you could do, but I would start with the thumb. Alistair, Liz Beeloff. Of course it's Liz. Yeah. I read Jim's book recently, Adventures in Utopia, I think it's called. And it's really nice. Goes into a lot of details about him and Liz and how they started their ukulele project. Apparently they were at a flea market in where they lived in America, and they found an old, I think Jim started playing an old Martin tenor that he found in the flea market, and he fell in love with it. And that's why a lot of their stuff is named flea market music. When his brother Dale and his wife Phyllis started doing the fluke ukuleles, you know, the ones with the wooden tops, plastic back and sides, that's why they call them flea, which is quite cool because they got it from a flea market. Which also ties in with the whole "my dog has fleas," doesn't it? I've no idea why, but we always say "my dog has fleas" to remember the re-entrance sound. So yeah, but yeah, they're a really cool couple. They've done so much, so many good books and things. So and Alistair just mentioned the book is available for the download as well, for a download. So I'll tell you what, I'll just run and get mine so I can show you. I can't find that strap, but I'll show you. I am coming back, I promise. There we go. I'll show you what I mean with these. This is where also starting to sight read music helps. Sorry guys, I was coming back, I promise. This is what they look like. This is the second one. So this has another 365 songs following on from the first edition. So Daily Ukulele Leap Year Edition. In fact, this one has 366 songs because it's a leap year edition. What I love about it is, if you have a look, all of the songs, they're broken down into measures. It helps with your strumming as well, so you can count along those measures as you strum, which is brilliant. But you've got the notation there as well, so you could work out the melody. So this is what I started doing when I was mucking about with chord melody. I used to use these a lot, and I get the melody from the notation. If you can't read sheet music, ask a friendly teacher or friend to help you out. And the very first one that I've got is lost the covers long ago, and it's fallen to bits. It's very dog-eared, but because I've used it for so much, they're just absolutely wonderful. Really nice. And I find if you want more simple songs, the original one, the Daily Ukulele, is a little bit more accessible. There are less chords in the songs. They simplified some of them. Whereas this one is a little bit more true to the original arrangements. It has lots of the kind of slightly more difficult chords in. I guess because they had to kind of vary it a little bit. So, yeah. What's that? Is anyone else wondering about the ring? Oh, did I do this? Oh, this chair is terrible. It's it looks like some kind of torture device, doesn't it? It's just so you can pull it about, I think. But it's weird, isn't it? It's lost one of the canisters, so when I sit on it at the wrong angle, it tries to fall down. There we go. And looks like the Big Brother chair, doesn't it? Day 41 in the ukulele household. That's my terrible Newcastle accent. The reason I got this one, it's quite girly, isn't it? Is because I wanted a swivel chair. Hang on, let's see if I can do it. That's where I go a little bit mad at the end of the lesson. I wanted a swivel chair that could move around and was quite comfortable, but it had to be one without arms. So many of them have arms, don't they? Computer chairs and swivel chairs. But it means that I can strum away and I don't kind of bump them out of the way. So, yeah. Anyway, sorry guys. I always get a bit mad at the end. I'll just wait a few more minutes, see if there's any more questions. There's a couple of things coming through that I missed. So, yeah. Jackie, you've probably seen it since now, but it's Daily Ukulele. I realised you probably wrote that comment before I held it up. That's one. Jumpin' Jim's was his nickname, Jim Beeloff, and his wife Liz. There we go. Oh, thank you, Steve. That's really kind. That's really nice to hear. Thank you. I really appreciate it. There's, if you're interested, or if your students are interested, if you go to the website, as well as all the previous live lessons, I've got whole sequential courses. I found when I started teaching many years ago, I've been doing this for like 20 years now, there weren't many courses where they went from one lesson to the other, particularly on YouTube. There was just like, here's how to do this, here's how to do this. So I've developed a beginner's course where you can literally go one lesson at a time. It starts with holding it, tuning it, strumming it, picking melodies, and it just kind of goes like that sequentially. And then there's an intermediate one that follows, and then the next steps, there's a uke theory, playing at the dusty end, all sorts on there. So if you go to the website, and just look up YouTube lessons, they're all under there, and you can share those with anyone you'd like to. Jackie, yes, absolutely. I shipped my uke theory book. Do I have one available to show you? Would help if I did, wouldn't it? I'll probably put it away somewhere. Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I shipped these to America. If you go to the Uke Room, ukeroom.com, you can buy this in a shop there. I think that version, rather than the Matt Stead ukulele shop, which has it also, it has a link which says for international buyers, and it keeps the postage down. I think it's like £15-20 as automatically, because it thinks it's a ukulele. If you don't click that link, it tries to charge you £75 shipping, which would obviously be way too much for a book, but that's what it cost me to send a ukulele to the States. So yeah, go to the ukeroom.com, look it up, and in the description there's a link. If that doesn't work or you can't find it, just send me an email, Jackie, and I can send you a PayPal invoice with the cost of the book and shipping, so it wouldn't be too much. There's also a link to where you can download a PDF version as well, so if you don't want to wait for it to come all the way to America, it's fairly quick, but if you don't want to wait, or you want to have it on your iPad, you can do that as well. So this is what it looks like. It's let me just put my uke down. Sorry, guys. So it's basically everything you might need. I developed it with my friend John as kind of a teaching resource, because I wanted everything you need in one book. So if you need to look up a music symbol, you don't know where it is, that's all in the start. You know, all these funny symbols, you might think, what does that mean? And they're specifically for ukulele as well, so it tells you what to do on ukulele. And then it's got all your scales in it, I think is the next bit. Yep, scales and modes. And they're written out as dots on your ukulele fretboard, but what we found was really useful is it shows you the scale shapes as well. So if anyone does my Canacapella on Monday, where we do a lot of soloing and things like that, this gives you the scale shapes, so you can play them all over the fretboard. And that's got all your different scales. We're actually working on a second edition with some even more kind of fancy pants scales. It's got all your modes written out in. It's got all your first position chords. But the thing that I was really excited about, which is part of the reason I wanted to do it, is it gives you all of your chords, and not just the boring ones like major chords, even like suspended chords and stuff. It shows you 3 different places to play them. 4 actually. I'm doing myself an injustice. So you could take a really unusual chord like an A sus2, and it tells you where to put your fingers in 4 different positions, so you can start taking it up the fretboard. So that could be really useful as well. And then there's all sorts of other bits and bobs, like what have we got, like the circle of fifths. We use that a lot, don't we, in my teaching as well, things like that. So it's basically, it's not a tuition book, it's not here's how to use all this stuff, it's your resource. So anytime you want to look up a scale, it's here. Anytime you need a chord, it's here. Anytime you need to know what a symbol means, it's here. So that's the idea of that one. So yeah, have a look, check it out. And as I say, we're working on a second edition with lots of new material, but we're probably still a good 6 months away on that, realistically speaking, because it takes us a long time. So yeah, Esther's taking her arms off. Hope that wasn't painful. So yeah, cool. No worries, Indrani. I'm pleased that you even managed to get any of it in whilst you're at work, so well done. I hope I didn't make too much noise, and hopefully you can come back to it later. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm like that, Esther. Whenever people were interviewed for during COVID, I used to find it really fascinating to try and work out what books are on their bookshelves behind them. As an ex-librarian, that was always quite fascinating for me. So you get like a bit of a window into somebody's soul, don't you, when you look at their gigs behind you? So thank you. Oh, thanks, Jackie. It's been a long time. I've not played in ages. Hopefully, I remember the chords and the notes and everything, but yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So yeah, thank you. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. There we go. Oh, good, good. Yeah, Thumb is brilliant, Laura. It really gets you get going, doesn't it? In fact, if you watch James Hill play live, a lot of the stuff he does is just his thumb rather than Pima. He does use Pima as well, but a load of stuff is just his thumb. It just shows how effective it can be, because it kind of really means that those melody notes stand out, doesn't it? So yeah, just on my lonesome tonight, Karen. Yeah, going up to a ukulele club near Birmingham, so I'm teaching them for an hour, and then I'm going to give them a ukulele concert for 45 minutes afterwards. I'll be fine with the teaching, as the concert afterwards, which scares me. I'm sure I'll be fine. It's just I haven't played in a long time. So yeah, when I play in a band, I have no nerves at all. I can get up in front of, like, you know, hundreds of people and be absolutely fine. But playing my ukulele on my own, it still makes me nervous after all these years. So it never goes away for some of us. I used to get such bad stage frights. I used to be sick before I went on stage. That was before I played ukulele. When I was playing fingerstyle guitar, I used to get so nervous about it. So yeah. Oh, cool. Well done, Bev. Fantastic. Yeah, that's it. Study through those courses. It's surprising how much you can pick up quite quickly from those early courses. So take your time. Remember, you can watch them back as many times as you want. It's really important as well. So oh, thanks, Bev. I just had another message off Bev as well about contributing. If you do want to ever send a tip or anything to say thank you, if you can follow this PayPal link, paypal.me/ukeroom. Or if you follow the links in the description, I think there's a link where you can just buy me a virtual cup of coffee or a virtual cup of tea from the website. So it's just like buying anything online then. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Everyone's been so generous with their donations recently, and it's really helped me, because it means I can spend a lot more time doing this stuff. And that's what I want to do. I've found over the last, I don't know, especially last year, I felt like I've really connected with a community, which I've absolutely loved. So I want to do more of this YouTube stuff and live lessons. But obviously, all the planning and everything takes away from my in-person lessons. So being able to have those donations comes in really helps me, because it means I just treat them as if it's a physical lesson. I put time aside, and I can really, really, hopefully, make them good. I hope so. Hope you enjoy them. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, guys. Okay. Oh yeah, Esther's made a good point. If you're enjoying it and you want to post your progress, we've got a Facebook forum. The link's in the description, and it's really lovely. Everyone's so supportive and encouraging. It doesn't matter how good you are or how bad you are. There's no such thing as bad ukulele players. There's no such thing at all. We're just all learning, aren't we? I'm still learning after 25 years, and one day I'll be good at it. Basically, you can share your videos and people can make suggestions, or they can just give you some support to say how well you're doing. And it's been really lovely. It's really come together in the last few months. A lot of people posting videos, and it's all about encouraging each other, isn't it? I think that's the important thing. So yeah, cool. Steve, mine's thanks, Karen. So I use good old fashioned Sibelius. So I've written a few pieces for like the ukulele grades that we have here. They were run by RGT, now LCM, London College of Music, and because I do it via them, they insist that everything has to be on Sibelius. So I've kind of just I had to teach myself how to use it basically for that. So I use Sibelius to write all my stuff. But there are, if you speak to Esther, perhaps she might contact you or show you how to get contact, or you can chat on here. That's the Cow and Frog. That's Esther's handle. She's found some really good free software for writing tabs and music. I can't remember what it's called right now. Esther, perhaps you could jump in. And a few of my students use that to write their own arrangements. It's free and it's probably a bit more simple to use than Sibelius. Sibelius is really good when you get into it, but gosh, it's a hard learning curve. It took me a while to get used to how to do it. So, thanks, Karen. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, cool. Right, I'm going to head off, guys, because I've got to jump in a shower and jump in my car and get up to Droitwich, which is near Birmingham. So I'm going to love you and leave you. Thanks for sticking with me and for starting early today. It's going to be a month before I'm back for the next one of these. I'm so sorry. I know it's a long time. But in a fortnight's time, I'm away on holiday with the kids. We're taking them down to the seaside for a week for half term. So I'm away that half term. And every other Wednesday, I have other things on. So it's going to be a bit of a wait for a month. But I'll be back and I'll make it bigger and better than ever. I'll make it a really special one when we do get back. And after a ukulele fix, I will be around next Monday for Canacapila, where you can join me to strum along and sing and have loads of fun. That's Monday night, 6 p.m. UK time. So yeah, there we go. So it's a PayPal thing, that, Bev. So I can probably make it bigger just before I go. Let's have a look. I'm not doing this to make you all send me tips like PayPal. But Bev, this is it. So you can if you type in paypal.me/ukeroom, just like in your browser, like you're going to go on Google or whatever, and it basically takes you to a link where you can put in you can pay by card or PayPal, whatever you've got, and it just sends me some tips. You can send as little or as much as you want. Every little helps. But that's it. paypal.me/ukeroom, UKEROOM. But if you're not so confident for that, because not everyone likes doing PayPal stuff, if you follow links in the description, as I say, you can buy me a cup of tea or coffee off the website, and that's just like buying something off the website. So it's a bit easier for some people that I've found. So let me pop that. I should probably make that bigger, shouldn't I? Then people would actually be able to see it. So cool. And this is my website as well, if anyone wants to have a look. Let me just make that bigger. So mattsteadukulele.com. You can even just Google it. Just put Matt Stead Ukulele in Google and it'll find it, because it's easy to misspell my name. So yeah. David, if somehow you don't get a chance to get in contact with Esther at the end of this, just send me an email, matt@theukeroom.com, matt@theukeroom.com, and I'll either pass your details on to Esther, or I'll get her to tell me which one she uses, and I'll email it to you. So don't sweat it if she's not able to answer now. We'll get back to you that way. Right, I'm going to love you and leave you guys. Have a wonderful week or so, and I'll be back in a month with another one of these. Canacapila next Monday, and I'll see you soon. Sending my love. You can, everyone. Take care.